All right, first up. So this is medium two. We have Philip Mann-Montreal back with us, and he has a joke to start things off, and I love
So I
jokes.
hate telling people that something is a joke. It means, okay, where's the funny part? If you just tell them it's a story, then you really catch them by surprise. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, I heard this on the radio a long time ago. It's a story about Henry Ford. Oh, Ford Auto Company also was a notorious anti-Semite. And one time, one of his, basic car. There wasn't any air conditioning in those days. That was much, much later. And one time, his one of his subordinates, I'm like, on this, came to say, "Sir, we have this thing to show you. What is it? You have to come in the car and see it yourself." He goes in the car, and it's a hot day, close the windows and let them stew there for a while. And they stew and said, "Let me out, let me out, let me out of here now." And they said, when they pushed the button, and all of a sudden, cool air started coming in. Said, "What's that?" Um, it's called air conditioning, Mr. Ford. We can bring cool air into your vehicles. That's good. Where did this come from? It's invented by some fellows that they would like to, they'd like to be paid for it. What do they want to be paid? How much do they want? They don't need money, sir. They don't. They just want the name on the car. Somehow bring it. Remember their name. Fine. What's the name? Greenberg. Greenberg? The Jews? The Jews? Are you out of your effing mind? No, absolutely not. I'll take your papers and I'll fire you too. There's back and forth and yell. And finally, he realized it wasn't going to go anywhere. He didn't give his consent. So, there was some back and forth. Okay, here's the deal. What is it, sir? They just want their first names on the car. First names in the air conditioning. Okay, agreed. That's why in those early Ford cars, in the air conditioning control, you had norm, high, and max.
When you're telling this, I was like, he said Max is in this name. I can't see how's this gonna happen?
Beauty of it, eh? I know that was the radio a long time ago with Ted Blackman and then the one George Balk on the morning show in CJ in Montreal. I just remember it catches you totally by surprise, you know.
Yeah, it does.
No, and you like it because I'm not riding my there's say hi Max, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's a good joke.
Yeah, the biggest thing is not to blow the punchline, you know.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I mean, yeah, I think it's yeah, I mean, as you know, well, I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan. To me, and Carl Reiner and Mel, that 100, 2,000 year old man, whatever. I mean, that's what those guys sat down and basically did that all in one afternoon. Is just,
And you have Blazing Saddles too, which is all oh gosh.
oh yeah, yeah, it's yeah, they just don't make comedy like that anymore.
No, no, especially that. I still borrow that line of his. I don't know which one it was. One of them, the scene's going out of control, and finally one of them walks out the door and says, "Taxi, get me out of this movie."
Yeah, when I was in high school, I was an editor on the paper, and so we got to go see blanking on his name, who played Frankenstein in
Mel Brooks,
not Mel Brooks, but in Young Frankenstein.
Marty Feldman.
Yeah, not Marty Feldman, the guy who played Dr. Frankenstein. Um, I could be
Black.
blanking on his name.
No.
And he died. He's married to Gilda Radner.
Oh, Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder, yeah. So, he was telling the story. He said, to all of us, he goes, in a Woody Allen set, everybody's very quiet. Nobody speaks. That's what he talks to them. Nobody speaks. Everybody's very quiet. Woody has very specific instructions. He's like, on a Mel Brooks set, if you shout a line that's funnier than what he wrote, it's in the movie. I mean, he would just throw everything on the wall, and whatever stuck would stick. And he also told a story about Young Frankenstein, which I read in his book. And he said he came to Mel Brooks and with the script, he said, "Oh, I want to do this." And he said, Mel Brooks said, "Yeah, fine. I'm going to work on it. And we're definitely going to do it." And then he said, "It's like Hollywood. Everybody says they're going to do it, and you don't believe them." And he didn't hear from Mel Brooks. And then a year later, he gets this call. He says, "Hey, it's Mel Brooks, wherever he calls himself to the friends." He says, "You ready?" And he lined up all the funding, and they started shooting like in a month. And I thought that was an interesting. Yeah, it's just we could go on and on about the.
This is a perspective. I realize us talking about a movie that was made in the 80s or so. It's like us listening to our parents talking about Clark Gable or Rita Hayworth,
'Yes,
40 years before we were born, or
yes.
it's not, or something, or 30 years before we were born. It's way, way out of in the backstory. Anyway, yeah, it's see, I don't know. I think I humor wherever I find. Some I make up some odd stories, but I don't know. Lately, I haven't. I've tuned a lot of movies because I see they're all about the comic books, And sometimes the beauty of a comic is that it's all in your imagination.
Right.
I don't want someone to see. I don't want to see what Batman, how big and strong he was. By the way, in terms of physics, it doesn't make any sense at all. Just because he's big and muscular doesn't mean he's that strong. But I like using my imagination and things. I don't like everything drawn out for me.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's a huge difference, I think, from then to now. I mean,
yeah,
just like in the violence, I mean, it was always just assumed. I mean, it was a starting point. You didn't. Yeah, I mean, so much is left to the imagination.
yeah. Writing especially, like sometimes, but I don't know. I was writing a lot before, and I have it on the Medium quite a bit now, but I've toned it down. I read about what's going on in Israel, and sort of I'm getting back into something else in my life now. So my creativity is towards that, not so much in writing. Also, because writing is a bit. It's interesting article. This is writer on Medium, Linda Carroll. I don't know if you've ever read her.
I've read one or two pieces by her, but I don't remember what it was.
And she had an article about Medium, where she asked something. I've always had this question: Does financially does Medium make sense? Not for us, as I said, but for the people who supposedly own it. Does it make sense financially? And she did a bit of math. She had a good idea how many members it has, what they pay per month, and how many writers get paid. She drew an average of the writers. Most of them must make if I they've been threatening to send me $100 since May, and they still haven't seen it. She basically said, no, that doesn't make sense. Medium, it's hard to say because Medium, there are no ads anywhere. Okay.
Right.
How they make money. They should make money. Okay. Not just when I read the Economist or Time magazine. Yeah, they get my subscription that pays for the basics, but they get those ads for watches or stuff like that. That's expensive. That's where they make a lot of money. We don't see that in Medium. And besides that, anybody writes at a certain level get paid. She said it doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think it. I mean, look at the New Yorker magazine, right? The New Yorker magazine has never made money when I was younger. So I did research this a bit, I don't know, 30 years ago, whatever. I don't know what their finances are now, but back then it didn't make any money. The various owners that took it over took losses, but it was a vanity status thing to say that you owned the New Yorker.
It's quite a status, like means like it's like going to the New York Jets or something.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't feel, yeah, and this is a good question. First of all, I don't think Medium makes money. I don't think it can ever make money. I don't think the New Yorker can make money, but not because of their specific format, but because eh, well, as you know, I mean, half of everybody who graduates college doesn't even read a book again for the rest of their lives.
It's
Uh,
probably true.
no, it is. I mean, that they've done the
Yeah,
statistics on it, and
I hate it so much.
people just aren't naturally curious. Um,
Funny, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just, I think people that would read the New Yorker or Atlantic or Medium, 1% of the population. So, they're people who write on Medium that I find, are just as good as anything I've read in Atlantic or the New Yorker, maybe better. And they have like 5,000 followers. So I'd say like anybody I follow that I think sort of really tries to write original pieces, they're about 5,000 max. Now,
Yeah,
there's certain people like, Professor Galway, who I think is a fantastic writer, but he has a team and his stuff's very good, but it's also, just a little bit phoned in to a certain extent. And Linda
interesting.
Carroll, I think, is a big writer, so she's very good, but she doesn't. Yeah, I just think that I think it's always been true for all of human existence. The people that read and think on a very high level are just very, very, very small.
I've I don't know. I think it's a medium. Some of them are fun to read. Some of the research. Okay, I write opinion. This my own. Don't even have 1,000 followers. I've been on it for actively for a year and a half. Writing about 5 articles a week with a lot of responses. I get I have about 700 some odd followers. How many read about it on? There are a couple of them there who do research articles, and they're very informed. One guy, he or she calls up argumentative penguin.
Oh, I've read
He
him. I used to read him every day, all the time. I don't
he
anymore.
does research. He's informed about some things. How Britain was the first country to abolish slavery, and he told me things called the Mansfield Act, something like that. So he knows what he's talking about. He's controversial, but he has his very he's solid center,
Absolutely.
and a few others. There's one Janice Nareda, who's a journalist also, but she very short articles, very short. And a couple of others that I like to read. A lot of them, some of them make me relax. A lot of them are just too many. I want to learn something when I'm reading a piece. Okay, not just be confirmed to my own opinions. I learned some different added article. I don't learn a different approach. I don't see that too often. And I tell people I read The Economist a lot because it's well informed. Okay, and they put money. They read some of their articles, featured articles, and it comes up that the reporter has been following this for half a year, if not more.
Oh yeah.
And they've gone to some pretty dangerous places. One of them was about a banking fraud in Iraq, where somebody embezzled billions upon billions of dollars from the government, and the reporter wanted to follow it further up the chain. And somebody told him, "Don't go there. Don't see him. Don't talk to him." He talked to him anyways, and he obviously lived to write the story. And that's real journalism.
Yeah, but
And
yeah, I bet you The Economist doesn't make money either. I bet it's a loss.
I'm not sure. They have some ads. They have ads classifieds from governments looking for positions or something.
Sure.
You have a couple of feature full page color ads from well-to-do companies. So do something. It's financially, I'm not sure. It's not a. It's well known. They they're as much of record as the New York Times, and they've called out the New York Times a couple of occasions. But I don't think they're a big player in terms of opinion makers because it's not as populist as they say Newsweek or Time Magazine. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, what my gripe against The Economist is I don't like anything that says we. I mean, on Wall Street, it's used all the time. It's the industry I work in. It's always, when you at JP, we think this, we think that, because you're trying to use the power of the group to sort of create an authority for the reader. I want to hear who wrote it. Like,
They'll tell you that. They'll never tell you that. Only the end of the art year,
yeah,
they'll tell you who wrote what. Why? Because they don't want them to use it as leverage if they want to leave the magazine. They practically
yeah,
said once a couple of years ago. They hinted at they don't give because they know if somebody says I wrote for the Economist or I for New York Times, New York Times especially, you go somewhere else for a job. Oh, great! Come and talk to us. Here's your desk. Here's your secretary. Here's everything else. But they don't do that pretty much for that reason. So it's a takeaway bargaining chip for them.
yeah. I still don't like. I mean, to me, it's an affront. I mean, I don't believe that any writing is truly objective. I don't believe
No,
there's any such thing as we, like between
the
any two
very idea that
writers.
you're writing about it means you're not objective.
Yes,
No,
exactly. Yeah.
but
So,
it's interesting. You ever read their letters to the editor?
The Economist,
Yeah.
not recently.
You know what's interesting about it? They'll never write a letter that says you're doing a great job. You know that? You never write that. They never write that. I've noticed that they'll have people taking a strip off them. You know, people the letters from government telling you you've got it totally wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You know, and they won't counterattack. Generally not. Generally not. You can say what you want. Unless you've got something totally wrong, they'll let you have it. You know, and
Right.
that's the end of it. But they won't publish anybody. Won't publish a letter from anybody who says you're doing a great job, which is good. It's sort of reassuring in my own perverse way. You know.
Yes. Yes. So um, how do you feel like you're, uh, well, I mean, I feel for Medium. I mean, you're never going to make a living from it. It's only
I don't know how anybody does it. I don't know how
it's,
they
it's
do it.
just it's just pocket change. I mean, you can make a living, I believe, if you're, if it's part of a um, self-help type thing. So I think the self-help gurus that write on Medium, the big ones probably do well. But again, anything that's just uh, uh, intellectual or a small arcane subject, I just don't
They,
see it.
I fell for this once at the very beginning. They say, well, you cast a narrow net and just focus on a certain topic. So I started writing about Jewish life, and it hasn't gotten me anywhere. You know, some people like it. You know, some people, have something because I'm. There's a lot of Jewish readers on this also. You notice that yourself, others, but they don't get anywhere. We don't get anywhere in this. You have a certain amount of followers, but the people who really make money on this here, either self-help or they're follow the trend. It's not just the trending, they're following the medium mindset, left wing, supposedly progressive, whatever that means now. Um, in terms of gender, in terms of race, there's also if you stick to that, you should do okay. But I really don't know, and if even that works anymore because it goes back to how big the pie is.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I mean, I had one viral article, like the article I wrote, Israel's more F than you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and I wrote that in 45 minutes, and it was just a shoot from the hip piece of nonsense. I mean, not nonsense. I mean, but it was just, I was just basically just taking all sort of the stereotypes and the arguments in my head, and I had fun. It's just a fun article to write, just being provocative. And I thought I'm gonna put it in the title. So I really want to call it Israel's more F than you know. I said, but if I put F in it, it'll never be curated and never do well. And I thought, well, listen, what does a 45-minute article deserve, right? Who cares, right? Just put that in there and just move on to the next article. I literally, I thought nothing would happen from it, and it's reached over, I think, 65,000 reads, and it's over $1,400. And
Seriously.
I'm almost embarrassed because, again, it's not like I was like reasoning and working really hard on it. And
Yeah,
by the way, this is what I noticed in writing and everything in life. It's like, Sting, when he wrote Roxanne, he was just playing a stupid song to himself. It was a joke to him. You think about Roxanne, he's just like, it's like never in his
it's like
wildest.
this. Like who said once? I think it's uh said as soon as he smoked and drank his whole life. Said if I he lived to be 100, said if I no one's gonna live so long, I would have taken better care of myself.
Right,
Same
exactly.
idea.
Yeah, yeah. It's
No
just
one's going how much a crappy article make would have done it more often, something like that.
well, yeah, I mean that's the reason I only monetized my stuff a few months ago, because my sister's been bothering me for years. And I've always said, and I think it's true, I said, if I monetize myself, I'm going to drift towards wanting to do stuff that makes some money. So all my other Israeli Jewish articles are all just like the F yourself. They're all provocative. Now, I don't want to say, I do feel like, I mean, my approach to media is I'm just trying to connect things that people wouldn't connect together. I'm not saying they should be connected or they are connected. They're just ideas. That's what I think I'm good at. Just finding disparate things and putting them together. And I do think a lot about how we communicate. I mean, again, that's the purpose of this channel, in a sense, like how do we try and reach people with what we think when there's so many rules in a sense of how we want to be reached, how we want to be. Like many people will say for my articles, oh, this is clickbait. And I'm like, you simply cannot survive as a writer if there isn't some sort of clickbait in your title. It's just impossible, I feel. It's
Well,
impossible.
you have to live up to it. You have to live up to whatever you're promising. You touch on it. Never mind, no, grab it by the throat. You have to. Otherwise, it'd be like some of these. See something like a YouTube any channel. You'd see watch it. So some people even call the writers up and say, "Watch so and so destroy his opposition." You look at it and say, "It's a normal debate. Normal
Right.
debate. You know, nothing destroying about it. You know, like one of these. I forget one of these right wing. I read them. He said, watch him destroy a teacher." Okay,
Right.
so the teacher asks a question, and he answers it. And there's nothing wrong, nothing harsh about it at all. So it's like you and I discussing something.
Right.
So it's just a scam, you know, it's a scam. But unfortunately, most of them they couldn't make any money, but they didn't reuse the same titles, you know.
Well, do you feel like the stuff you write on Medium, do you feel it's all truly what you want to say, or do you feel you're trying to get an audience? I mean, how much do you feel there's a conflict between writing to be read and writing to talk about things that are meaningful to you?
I've done mostly what I want to say. The stuff I use a pen name for, I use for write somewhere else. Okay,
Right.
adult material, whatever's here. But pretty much what I want to say. You know, sometimes I'd really more harsh, like, okay, we're here. Like the what's going on in Israel now against Hamas. I wanted to talk about say use the word Muslim, okay, but I can't say it. So I say people on the other side of the conflict. You know, it's sort of self-censorship. Okay.
So why don't you say Muslim?
I'm
Do
not
you
sure
want?
if they'll call me out. They called me out once before because I said I said because a man can't have a baby, so they said that's hate speech. That's kind of, you know, yeah, yeah. And I was reading about it last night in one of my clips. When people said if you went into an Israeli, they're pretty. Most I look, they have women in the front line. That women in a tank a few weeks ago that fought off a lot of the terrorists. You know, so they're as upfront as anybody else. But say if you go to an Israeli and tell them that a man can have a baby, the first thing they'll do is give you a number of a psychiatrist. You know, they're very in your face and upfront. You know, they don't care what you think. This is the truth. Can't handle it. Well, so it goes.
Yeah, do you watch the videos by um Corey Gill Schuster?
Yes, yes.
I
He's
love
pretty
those
good.
videos.
Oh wow.
I was watching one yesterday, and I was like, I gotta so get to Israel. They're my people because he gets. And one I watched yesterday, he got in an argument with this guy, and I didn't know this, but Corey had said, I'm gay, I have a kid, people spit on me, and the kid he was talking to was Orthodox Jewish, and very, I think, very to the right and militant, and they were really going at it. And all
Hmm.
of a sudden, the kid takes a smoke, and his friend's with him. He goes, "Is he okay?" He goes, "Yeah, he's got me. He's got me riled up." Like he was like, "Yeah, this guy's good." Like I gotta recalibrate. Okay, I mean,
Who's saying that? Who's saying that?
the guy they were interviewing. So I mean, it's just and it sort of actually made me hopeful for Israel. I was thinking about it last night. I was like, the United States Israel's only like 70 years old. I mean,
Not
where's the
very long. Not
what?
very old. Not very old in terms of countries.
No, but it's weird. Like when he's interviewing all the Palestinians, they're all saying what my friend Gil says. Like you ask them honestly, they want to kill me. Okay, so stop it, Max, with your liberal nonsense. And it's interesting because many of them do pretty much say that to him. I mean, they're in Israel. He's saying, "Hey, how do you feel about the Jews? Would you like to have peace?" It's like, no, there'll never be peace. It's war. It's them or me. They're right down in the middle of the street. The IDF's walking by.
It's like the one I have in my stories last 3 days ago. I saw it before. He's interviewing an Israeli, about Arab culture. Okay, and this guy he switches back and forth between, I mean, Hebrew and Arabic, back and forth, like no
Right.
problem at all. And he's in a Jewish area. You can tell because there's a Jewish Hebrew store sign in the background, and there's women walking by with the head covering. That's a
Right.
Israeli Jewish head covering, not a Muslim head covering. Okay, you can tell the difference.
Right.
And he says, "Oh, some things are good. They're very like good, very good hospitality, and the music is good." And then he switches, but some things are not good at all. So the way they treat the women is very bad. And then he says they haven't progressed past the Muhammad's time. And he called them savages basically.
Right.
The violence says he could come the people I work with. He can come to my house in Jerusalem, no problem. I go to his village, I'll end up as chopped meat. I'll make it out alive. You know, he says they don't. There's no freedom of speech. There's no idea of your own opinion. You know, and you see a lot of them are like there's no variance of opinion. It's all the same thing, you know. It's all exactly the same, and that's why I don't think there's, like he said, pieces. The Palestinians are not ready for it yet. Not ready for it.
I guess,
And,
my question on that is, and I see that. I mean, obviously, in the signs I see in the highway, it's like, if you're Jewish and you're entering here, you better have done your last will and testament.
yeah, yeah,
So, this area A, stay out anyway. So, but my thing is that when I look at I guess my difficulty is you have the PLO, and there. So I just watched a documentary yesterday about a guy that asked a question about it's an English guy, about the occupied territories and whether they're preventing peace. Really good doc. It's an hour and a half. Anyway, so there's this baker telling the story. He says, "Oh, there was this Israeli, another baker, or whatever, and he'd worked with this Palestinian for 20 years. They were friends, best friends almost. And one day, the Palestinian came in and attacked him with a knife. And it turned out that Hamas or whatever, somebody come to him and said, "We're going to kill your family unless you stab them." So he's like, "Well, what choice do I have?" So he did it. So he said, so because of that, in a sense, we can never be comfortable with the Palestinians, even if they seem like our best friends. We never know if they'll get pressured.
now for sure, you never know.
Right.
Actually, they do know now. A lot of the people killed in the kibbutzim were hard left wingers.
Right.
A lot of them were hard left. They wanted peace, but they wanted to work something out, but it didn't make a difference. They were the closest to Gaza, and they got killed first.
But my question is that, I don't think, I mean, you don't disagree that one of the reasons that Palestinians can't have Israelis, Jews over to their houses is that the PLO, whatever, sorry, will kill them or harm them or go after them if they do it.
Them or the people, or the common people. They're afraid of what could happen a few years ago. Some IDF soldiers took a wrong turn. They're lynched. They're pulled apart. So they don't trust them. They don't trust them at all.
But what I'm saying is that, or what I'm asking is if how much can a Jewish Israeli not go visit a Palestinian friend in one of those territories because the people around him would kill him, and how much because the PLO has its militants around there that will kill him or do something to the family that invited him to see them.
And the PLO are basically the community. They're part of the community, the outgrowth of what they believe. Okay.
So you think that they come from the public. They're not something that's funded by Iran and Israel to basically sort of, because let me just play devil's advocate. If I'm Israel, right? I want all of Israel. Let's just say that I want all of Israel. If I wanted all of Israel for Jews, then I don't want a two-state solution, which is okay because Iran, other people are paying these terrorists to fight to get everything, and they don't want a two-state solution. So I can always count on them in a sense of driving to a two-state solution they'll never sign off on. then the other thing is I don't want the Palestinians to get economically self-sufficient or integrated with me, because then they're all with us. So, okay.
First off, this is a few questions. Iran, I think the limits of Iran's hatred of Israel coming into the fore now, because Lebanon did not want to get involved, because Israel, first of all, Israel didn't do well in 2006 when but they, because they weren't prepared for it, but they did such damage to Lebanon that they lost their appetite for it. So now they don't want to get involved. It's not their fight. Thanks anyway. So that's the limits of Iran's policy.
Right.
You can't fight through proxies the whole all the time. Those proxies have their own life, their own concerns. And I, what am I going to say? I think the problem is that there's no freedom of expression. Hamas, basically, the soldiers what you see was done on October 7th is an outgrowth of education policy. Okay, when you tell people that Jews are not human or just there to be killed, this is what happens. You kill them pretty much like you treat an infestation, maybe even worse.
But what I'm
There
asking is,
is still a way. There's still a way out of it. I think somehow the government has to ride herd on the people moving into the West Bank. Okay, you have to say no. We want this much reserved from whatever agreement we're going to make in the future, and not when you're on the wrong side, you will have to move. Okay, it's not talking about Gaza all over. By the way, Jews have a history in Gaza. It wasn't always a totally Arab area. We were there for a long, long time. We were evicted. But they have to be able to tell the settlers, I mean people moving there for political reason, if you move here, you cannot move there. Okay? And you have to afford the Palestinians their genuine protection under law. Not just it's easier for the Jews to make build houses there than it is for them. You have to start treating them as equal. Okay, you have to show some kind of like I saw this one of my news feeds I get. Name is Slifkin, Nathan Slifkin. He's some interesting, he's a bit of a controversial figure, but he said that dissolution on both sides. First, the Arabs have to understand the Jews are not going to move out. They're not settlers. They have deep, deep roots there, and trying to take away their history is not on. Even the most secular Jews will understand that Jews have history there, going back a long, long time. And so violence, it's not going to work. On the other hand, while there was no official Palestinian, there's a Palestinian geographic expression for a long time. Not Palestinian people, but they've developed their own identity since the mid 60s. They live there also, so they want to be acknowledged as living there also. It can't be a Judenrein state, okay? That's not going to happen. But they should have some potential to have their own government somewhere. It would have to be demilitarized, because Israel's not going to allow a hostile, never mind, you've got a hostile entity within miles of their airport. But there should be, Israelis should understand that Palestinians are also not going away, can't be wished away. And you have to establish some potential where they can, not necessarily a bunch of cantons, but a contiguous area that also has, the problem is it has no access to the sea or to anywhere else except through hostile kind of, Israel's not going to, is going to be very, very careful giving them any kind of freedom of movement through Israel. And Jordan might not be keen on it either because of Black September. Gaza has more potential because it's on its own. It's a solid area and has access to the sea. It can open up trade as it wants. But that's the problem with it. But then I'm saying that Israel should not foreclose on any possible state. You have to, they should be guiding the policy, not through people moving to the West Bank. The government should be doing it.
right. So, Mike, but I want to keep hammering on this question. The and this is where I find like arguments from Israelis. I'm like, well, why don't actually you follow the logic of your own argument? So, for instance, one argument against the PLO, right, is it's formed before the West Bank is taken over by Jordan, right, and then gets it back, right? So, when the PLO is formed, it's not even thinking about the West Bank, about having a separate state there. It's thinking about having all of Israel, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's right. That's true, right? So PLO is formed to get all of Israel. Then it switches tactics and says, "Oh, well, I'm not going to fight for all of Israel now. I'm just going to fight for the West Bank and Gaza." Then they take power from there, and then to me, they don't allow freedom in their own people. And this is, again, this is sort of my complaint about smart people, and Jews are smart people. Whereas if you know somebody is sort of stupid and they believe something, and what they believe is good for you and bad for them, you're going to take it. You're going to take that advantage. Why wouldn't you? Right? If you're smarter than the other guy and the other guy is going to trade you a diamond for a useless rock, you're going to trade it. But the question is, if you keep trading the useless rock for the diamond, and the guy finds out every time that he's losing, or a bunch of people realize they're losing, they get mad and they get angry, and yeah, they may want to kill you. So at some point, you have to say, I have to sort of like pull back here and not take advantage of these people all the time. And so that's my question about the PLOs. Israel, in my opinion, well, not, I'm just asking a question to you. Why doesn't Israel, when the PLO puts out a video of kids learning to throw rocks at Israel, no, you cannot do that. You go in jail, just as an Israeli Jew would go to jail if they did a video about Jews throwing rocks at, at somebody else. Because there are Jews that would do those videos. So they make the argument, oh, well, we never do that. Well, of course you don't do that because you have laws to prevent you from doing it. Those laws you should be writing those laws for them. Don't play stupid and allow them.
you have to rephrase the question. I think I lost you somewhere.
Yeah.
Make it simple. Make it shorter. Make it edit, Max. Edit.
Sorry. So the question is, why doesn't Israel prevent Hamas and the PLO especially from
PLO doesn't
producing?
exist. PLO doesn't exist anymore. It's Hamas. Hamas has respect of the or
Well, no, because the PLO is running it does its own military.
yeah, it's sort of. It's I'm not sure they're sort of muddling through. They're chewing on Hamas. They're pretty close cousins, but the ones in Gaza are bearing the brunt of their beliefs right now.
Yeah, but see, here you're doing this, you're dissembling, right? You're like, I'm saying, here's an organization, a Palestinian organization, that's allowing Israel to win these trades all the time by allowing them to radicalize their people and scare their people so their people are economically can't get anywhere. And then whenever it drives them to some sort of two-state solution thing, it's never going to work because their ultimate backers and the way it's just not going to work. So Israel just basically keeps winning, and it has kept winning. And don't get me wrong, good for Israel, but
the other thing, Israel can't do anything. But look, you probably seen them also. Hamas educates the kids to be with rocket propelled grenade launchers. That's how they educate the kids, and the games are how to kidnap Israelis or stab Israelis. That's you can't that's what they're dealing with. There's no room to grow. That's what this guy called the Green Prince, the son of one of the Hamas founders, walked away from it. It became a spy for the Israelis. Yeah. It's very unusual. It's very, very unusual. And some of them, saw this. They understand what's going on. They say that the money going into Gaza goes into some sort of Bermuda Triangle. It disappears, and the leaders wind up in Qatar as billionaires. They understand what's going on. You see their leaders that are talking in some luxurious setting, and they themselves they can't make money, can't make a living. They know what's going on.
Right.
And some of them blame Hamas for dragging them into another war. And how many have there been? 4 or 5 since 2005? There's no point to it. They lose all the time. This time they might even this might be Nakba number two. This a lot of them might they won't be forcibly some idiot on the medium saying well they should be relocated. It's not going to happen. You can't uproot 2.5 million people. A lot of them might leave on their own. They get tired of it all, But Israel can't change it for them because they control the education. They control everything that goes on inside Gaza.
Right, but Israel, as the powerful party with one of the most powerful militaries in the world, they can control it. They choose not to. This is what I don't like. You can I feel like if you're an Israeli and you say, "Listen, I've made the choice, and I'm going to let Hamas set the rule," and I like one of the arguments on Gil Schuster's thing that I loved is they asked him, "Do you believe in collective guilt?" And the guy says, "Yes." And then they talk some more, and the guy admitted, he says, "Yes, I agree. Collective guilt is wrong, right? The is the Palestinians that had their houses burned down because of some of Israeli people got killed at a gas station that had nothing to do with anything. They shouldn't get their houses burned down because they weren't part of it. But there's collective guilt. But he's owning up to it, and I feel like why doesn't Israel own up to? It's allowing Hamas and the PLO to do these types of videos. It
What they're
doesn't go
supposed
out
to
and
do.
find a person that
They
makes a
can't
video.
forbid it. They can't forbid this sort of
Sure they
thing.
can. Sure they can. They have all the weapons. They can take a gun and go into
But what they lack is soft power.
no. You don't need soft power. If I do a video today saying I'm going to go out and kill the president of the United States, there's going to be a Secret Service guy out my door tomorrow,
They're
and he's
probably
going to
there
take me
right
away.
now. Probably at the door right now, in
Right.
fact,
So why doesn't Israel do that whenever Hamas and PLO do a video like that?
because there's too many.
No.
Their policy. First of all, they'll have cell phones. Okay,
Right.
they can make anything they want, and it's not just that. It's pervasive. The whole atmosphere is, we're going to wipe out. Never mind. Wasn't there some protest in New York, some riot in New York yesterday about lighting up a Christmas tree? And they had one in the last 2 weeks, a few weeks ago in England against Memorial Day. Well, that's your clash of civilizations right now. The Israelis are talking about, it's not just our fight, it's your fight also. You can say that's a bit of, propaganda, but
I
it's
just say
coming
it's
true.
stupid.
It's
No.
coming true. It's coming true.
How is it coming true? Like it's funny because I wish I had Gil in this phone call because he makes these same arguments you're making. Like, and I tell him,
it's the same thing like here. Until the last 2 weeks, there are police cars outside my synagogue. Okay. They're waiting in the laneway outside the synagogue. Well, no, a couple of them in a close area. A lot of Jews walk through there on a Saturday morning. Make sure everything's okay. And even when we had the pro-Israel rally about a month ago, I was there. Very heavy security. We managed to cobble together 1,000 people. 1,000 people in a city that has about 90,000 Jews in it. The Hamas supporters, the Palestinian supporters, I get 10 times that without a problem. And people are worried there's been yeshiva here being shot twice, off hours, shots fired through the doorway. And there's a firebomb tossed to off hours at the office of the Jewish Community Council. Firebomb, okay? And we'd like to know how come these people bring their fight over here. Well, I mean, living in this country I was born here. Why do we have to be afraid because of people who come from there or the sympathizers get violent? It's nothing to do with Israel forcing them to do things. It's the nature. It's the nature of that. Even in Sydney, you have gas the Jews. Imagine that before Israel even reacted. They've been saying, not enough of you died. So it's not up to us to police them, to tell them what civilized people do. They should understand themselves. What are you talking about? What are you guys talking about? Why is there only one side to your argument, and why do you insist on forcing everybody else to listen to you?
right, but this all that comes from a basis that there's going to be fairness, right? There are people living in Israel, right? After World War II, the Jews want to go there. why is it a surprise that the other countries, that the Arabs would not want Europeans coming to live there? It's just human nature. So if a bunch of people move into my neighborhood, and just let's say 8,000 kids, and I don't like kids, I'm going to be upset. I mean, if a neighbor paints their house purple, I get upset. I mean, it's this. I don't understand why somehow.
Okay, let's put yourself in that position. You don't control it anymore, okay? You're controlled by some hyperpower. Britain,
Right.
well, hyper was they were given the mandate, and that mandate was given by most of the countries in the world. And the truth is, the Turks that you were counting on for all those years, they never did a lot for you anyways, and they're out of the picture. Now there's some arrangements being worked out. Now the Jews were always there. Jews were
Right.
always there.
Right.
Minority, but they were always there.
Right.
Now you can take the line of Amino al-Husseini, the Hajj, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. He was a pal of Hitler, one of his friends. I read the book, Icon of Evil, I have it in my library here. He advocated for killing the Jews. Some say he actually convinced Hitler to do what he did. Yeah, that's how strong he was. Now, if you're a normal person, you might say, all right, look, I don't like them, but this is what we're dealing with. Fine, we'll give them a space and we'll get on with our lives. You're not talking about a lot of people. There's lots of space there, okay? Lots of space there. Or you could say, do what they did and they'll go to war, not just go to war. You start calling all your friends to make war against them, you know? And you lose, and you lose.
Right. But it's still.
I'm saying, as you as a more or less normal person, I don't think you would go to war against somebody coming into your neighborhood who was always there. You say, I'll go next.
I would if they were doing much better than me. And this is to me is the mote in the Jew's eye. It's they say, well, we're just coming, right? Like even in this documentary, the guy pointed out, I said, listen, the West Bank, still only 10% of it has been developed. There's plenty of land for everybody, right? It's not like the Jewish settlers are encroaching in on these things. There's plenty of land. So but the question is that, okay, so the European Jews are going to come to Israel because the UN recognized them, the United States, France, England, whatever, they're coming. And I agree with you. I agree. What?
Russia did also.
And Russia did also, right? So I mean, and I agree with you. Like in a perfect world, the Arabs should. And if the Jews were stupid people and they got there and they did the stupid, and they just like the same sort of farmers and simple-minded people, I hate to put it all in these words, but if they were just like that, then they get along. But the Jews did not get there and just be like the Arabs. They built an incredible, powerful nation.
For a while.
It wasn't, but it is now. So I mean, their fears became justified. They were right. These people are going to come in and they're going to drive you out because they are just, for whatever reason, maybe they're God's chosen people.
They be able to do that because Arabs kept, it was like expression here over and over again. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. They kept on going to war. And none of the Arab countries, the only ones who succeeded are the ones who have oil. And even those haven't really succeeded because the young people have nothing to do. I read this article recently about Emirates.
Right.
Huge amounts of oil. Almost no, they can afford to give everybody $100,000 a year, but they have no employment there. It's all, financial schemes and, Bitcoin and who knows what else. But they haven't built there's no industry, serious industry there, okay? And the other countries are the same. Egypt is a basket case.
But you're making my point.
Why do they do that? Nothing's stopping them from doing anything different.
It's not about stopping them. It's about recognizing maybe that Jews are smarter than other people.
So what do? You kill them? That's a Thomas Sowell.
No. But you recognize that people will want to kill you because people want to go after they do not. Envy is one of the highest human emotions. You can't just be. It's hard to be anybody and look at somebody succeed very well. They don't like it. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's deep down, we agree
Max,
100%.
that's a real left-wing argument,
What's a
okay?
left wing argument?
Leveling not just the playing field, leveling the results. Everybody gets a medal for
No, no,
participating.
I'm saying they don't get a medal, but I'm saying that if you are smarter than somebody and you flaunt it in their face and they come to kill you, you should not be surprised. And for
What
you
do
to
you call
blame them,
fun?
for you to say that they have a
What do,
culture,
what's Israel supposed to do? Is demolish all the buildings and take up cattle herding or something, or what? And we'd still be better at
no,
it than them. We'd still
no,
be better at it.
it's the same problem in the United States. You work to integrate those people more into your society. You don't set them, you don't allow organizations like Hamas and PLO to run them. You go in and you curtail certain parts of their activity. You
Such
cannot do
as,
that stuff,
such as what? Such as what?
such as making educational videos about throwing rocks.
I don't think they have. It'd take a whole. I don't know what the regulations are, but you'd have to have a whole different system involved. You have to have the UNRWA out of there. You have to have somebody else having a normal system education. Something that you have a variety of books, not just ones that don't include Israel. You'd have to whole different things that have to go on. And even in the States, you'd have to have a lot of whole different backgrounds going on there. Okay, you'd have teachers would probably be killed because they'd be called collaborators. You know,
You can, again,
but
it's a choice.
you
It's a
must learn this
choice.
in Afghanistan. You can't change somebody else's history. They have to want to do it.
I'm not saying that this is the solution because who knows, but I'm just saying that what I find frustrating is that to me, again, Israel plays stupid when they're anything but stupid. And I say, don't, there are reasons, there are reasons why these people do these things that can be a result of you trying to, again, take advantage of their stupidity, take advantage of their weakness. And, I mean, the whole United States is we're a bunch of pirates and criminals ourselves. It's not like, that's what I'm saying. Like Israel is just like the United States was probably in the late 1800s went to a civil war. It was sort of the same thing, right? You have a civil war. You have they're all doing the industrial stuff, just like you have the tech people, right, in Israel. And then you have the other part in the
A question
South.
for you. It's completely off topic.
Sure.
Is there a U.S. policy to engage in a war every 10 years just so they can have a solid base of combat veterans?
There should
Is there
be.
a policy? Huh?
I wouldn't be surprised.
If they look at their history,
Yeah.
the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, Indian War, again and again, as if they're and whereas people, I'm going way off topic on this.
No, I think it's right on topic, actually.
No, but and China, which is massive military and everything, they say they have no combat experience. They have no books. What the Navy is a joke because the U.S. probably they don't know what to do with it, and the U.S. has combat experience as barge loads of books about what they've done in different wars, and they can they can sum up experience and protocol, and they have veterans. They have veterans all over the place. Anyways, another story.
No, no, I think it's part of the story. It's where the United States and Israel are now in like the Black civil rights. The Martin Luther King was the one that wanted integration. He wanted fairness for everybody. And that used to be, in my opinion, most Jews' opinions in Israel. That's what they wanted with the Arabs or the Palestinians, whatever. And then there was Malcolm X, who's like, no, give us Georgia or give us Kentucky, and we want our own little land within, we want a two-state solution. So the blacks in the 60s, there was that two things, they called it the two-state solution, but there was African Americans who wanted a separate place. And of course,
Yeah,
Liberia was created, and that was a complete disaster, but whatever.
separate but equal.
So, I'm sorry?
Separate but equal.
They're separate but equal. So yeah, so you have separate. You had these two things, and the United States went on took the integration route for whatever reason, and I think it's actually worked out really well. I mean, who am I to say? I'm a white guy, right? But I think it worked out pretty well. And this is what I ask of you about Israel. Is like you tried the separate but equal. It did not work. So
No.
I think you need to change your tactics and go for trying to integrate the Palestinians, which means you cut out that stupid education stuff. You cut out the bullying of the PLO and Hamas to curtail their freedom. If an Israeli wants to go visit somebody and somebody at Hamas tries to prevent them, you just throw them in jail till they rot to the end of their lives. You do whatever it takes.
That'd be an
You,
improvement.
yes, because what you're doing, where things are going now, I'm not sure that's going to work out very well.
Oh,
So,
at least you said that. I don't know, it's a very deep problem. I mean, and it would take for that to happen, you'd have to say, oh, Arabs can speak their own opinion. For the men, if they could have a real opinion, they'd have to have a bit of introspection. Even it's a lack of responsibility. When they, like I wrote this one of my pieces, like some guy in English talking about how come there's no difference of opinion among the Arabs. I said, well, because you keep on killing us, and war after war, you're killing us. And I said, every conflict you have, there are two sides, and each side is divided pro and against. Okay, the Russian Revolution had the White Russians. Okay, American Revolution, you had people going up into Canada, forming our eastern townships in Quebec, in Ontario. Right. Not everybody wanted to go along with it. The French, well, they killed everybody who didn't agree with it. And the Jewish opinion about Zionism, there are loads of opinions. They're anti-Zionists who are religious, anti-Zionists who are crazy, make common cause with PLO. And then there's the middle Orthodox. Then you have the left-wingers like Chomsky or Finkelstein, characters like that, So we have a huge amount of opinion. You have to see there's one opinion only. Wipe them out, or war. And so of course, until we have a culture that's look at Salman Rushdie. He almost got killed a couple of years ago. He lost an eye. For something that he wrote in a book in the when was it? Not in the 80s. So until we have a mindset of philosophy that says we all have opinions, and with very broad limits, you can say them publicly. Until they have that, okay? Until they take responsibility for saying, even now they on some of them are saying, what happened October 7th, they'll do it again and again. Not supposed to be bringing peace. Or some say we didn't do it. You gotta be kidding. Until somebody could say publicly it was a mistake. It was a big mistake. Now we'll never get any. There are some on YouTube are saying that. Arab somewhere it speaks in Arabic, has Hebrew subtitles and the English, even the English subtitles says it's crazy. You forget about going to Jewish hospitals, you forget about working in Israel. It's never going to happen. But it's uncommon. It's uncommon. Some people see the common sense of the whole thing, that you can't go into somebody else's country, do what they did, and expect anything except total war. But there are not many of them.
Right, but I think if you look at the Jewish history until the Holocaust and a few years after, when they're just sitting there in Europe in refugee camps or whatever, I mean, yeah, it sucked to be a Jew, to put it lightly. But really, since then, Jews don't walk down the street, at least not here in America, for the past 50, 60 years, whatever, and get attacked. It's just not very common. And
happened in New York.
But I'm saying that a Palestinian's life, I hate it when a policeman pulls me over just to talk to me for 2 minutes. If I'm a Palestinian getting pushed on the wall, roughed up by these soldiers, and you have to admit they're not all good, they're young, many of them are incompetent. Just, you put anybody in a position of power, and they're going to be a little bit afraid. But that doesn't make me feel any better getting roughed up. If I'm a Palestinian going through these checkpoints, if I'm a Palestinian,
problem. It's a problem. The soldiers don't like it either.
Yeah, nobody likes it.
They're on their job is to be soldiers, to kill.
Yes, but nobody likes. I agree with you. Nobody likes it. Everybody agrees rationally, but again, I feel that you're playing it stupid if you're saying, "Oh, well, you should just be nicer and understand these problems, and just understand that, yeah, the soldiers don't want to hit you, but he did hit you, and he still made you mad for Jews should know it better than anything." I mean, my dad used to
That's a school of thought. That's a school of thought there.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point is, that's why they went out of Gaza.
Right.
They went out of Gaza, and this is what happened, So they might be stuck with it. I don't know. You can't leave a vacuum, but sure, you can't leave a vacuum there. Someone's going to take over, okay? You can't just pretend nothing's gonna, the history will stop there and then. They'll freeze in place like some issue of the Twilight Zone, you know?
Right. And Israel can take over. To me, Israel should just take over, say, listen, we're taking over. We're going to work with the UN because some of these people are going to come after us. And you bring the UN. And again, like I said, there's a question of, is Israel, like I said, if I'm Israel and I want Gaza, right? I don't want to help the Palestinians. I like it that it's ratcheting up in this way that I can get rid of them. And you want the Palestinians to recognize their intent to hurt is, their, let's just say, hidden intent to get rid of Jews, but the Jews won't recognize their intent to get rid of the Palestinians. How their actions, they say, are just, but they
I
don't
think a lot of
recognize.
Israelis do realize, most of them, that the Arabs are not going any. For all of somebody's wishful thinking about
Right,
pushing them off, is look, Russia could just, if Russia was involved, they could just send them to a corner of their own country, which spans 8 time zones, and
right, right.
again, you
Yeah,
talk about 2.5 million people. Okay, it's not going to happen, and no nearby country wants them for different reasons. Egypt will not have them. Jordan will not have them, and that you're out of territory. What are you going to do? You're going to ship them out? Where are they going to go? They really are stuck with each other. They're stuck with each other.
yeah, which
And
is why, again, I think it's just, it's, again, I'm not advocating one solution or another. It's just peculiar to me. It's the annoying thing to me about, if I know I'm smart and I'm taking advantage of that, and somebody calls me on it, I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to like to say, "Oh no, that's not right." We're the same. We're the same. You
yeah,
look at
I've
what
heard
it
that
you
before. I've heard that before.
Yes, but look at, it's, the proof is in, you look at, you have Israel as a country with this tremendously powerful military, with the best spy software, with 60 nuclear weapons on submarines. I mean, they're not satellites. The rest of it. I mean, for a country of 11 million people, you just, again, you just can't just not look at that and just say, "Oh, it was luck." Right? Like,
Yeah, it's like, going back to Corey's Ask project. He, I heard him once, not long ago, talking about somebody. He said, "It belonged to my grandfather. I'll tear the whole thing down." Basically, so I'll tear the whole thing down because it's mine. They don't care what's on there now. They say it was theirs, and no part of it. No, and they're to pull the whole thing down just in order to get it back. It doesn't mean anything to them. Want it go on the record, anyways. Some of them, well, they like working it. So the truth is, if I was in their position and I had to go there as a day worker, it would bother me. Okay, it
of course.
would bother me. And there's even some story. We're almost finished here.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. But the idea of, I try to parlay that into some better agreement. I won't burn the whole thing down because I want more. I try to build on that. It's like, I heard once about one of the, I don't know who it was, one of his first Israeli presidents said, we would take a postage stamp size of territory, so it could, but you have a sovereign country. Okay, you don't say tear the whole thing down, start over again because I want it this way. You accumulate rights and recognitions, and you work with that. Okay.
Yeah, I think
You don't
if I,
say, like, a lot of them have worked. The Arabs have worked in Israel. Who knows, they're going to go back. Who are at jobs. They provide them livelihood. Hamas has no job. No, not all they
yeah,
do
of
is
course.
big tunnels, and security. Sell yourself out to be a soldier in their supposed army.
Yeah.
People have normal jobs in Israel. They can build on that. Let's say we want a little bit more. You want, or go on strike. Go on strike. Like, we're big on that in Quebec and the States also. Okay, do something, but accumulate more recognitions, more absolute rights, more guarantees.
Right, but I'm asking you, like, if I believe there are many Palestinians that want that, but Hamas gets in their way, not Israel. I agree with you. Israel's like, yeah, we want to work with you. But Israel turns a blind eye, like Hamas will create serious harm for them if they
I
collaborate
think,
with the Israelis.
think this is where, from what I've read, you can blame Netanyahu. He tried manipulating the behind the
Yeah,
scenes,
I do blame them.
co-opting them, co-opting one side, co-opting another, trying to control. No, he can't control them, not in this way. You have to undermine from us somehow. Okay, not it's not by now they're going by force because there's no choice. Well, maybe there will be a choice, but you have to go undermine from us by showing the results of they're it's hard because everything's taken as a sign of by both sides taken as a sign of weakness. I honestly don't know how to do it. I with ADD, my attention only lasts so long with this. Okay, but it's some way of getting the definite rewards for following a peaceful path. And so maybe somebody from Gaza became, I don't know, somebody from Gaza became a major in the IDF. Maybe that would go somewhere. But something, I even what if China built them a port? Okay, build a port in Gaza. Something that would tangible, not just tunnels that are collapsing all the time. And they're by the way, the more Israel attacks, the more useless the whole system becomes. Okay, so there goes your money. There goes your. It's like their own marginal line. But I don't know how to do it.
Well, it's going to take time because they are a backwards culture at this point. I mean, it's just, you're not working with, yeah, it would just
Not working
take,
with Norwegians, not
yes,
working with Norwegians or a university class. You're working with people
yeah.
who still have, no,
Thank you for saying something as bad as what stuff I've been saying.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. But I don't know.
Well, I
It's
apologize for talking too much during the idea of these videos is to interview the writers, not for me to go off into 8,000 spiels.
yeah, being a writer. What? Yeah, I'm going, but I'm going. I used to before this thing. I used to sell promotional stuff, and for some reason, probably become obsessed with things. The past year, I started wondering what I didn't do right. So I started figuring it out, and I'm going back into it. I'm getting some lists to mail. Okay, now how do you get lists? I used to go to by profession, by in schools, and
Right,
you go on to Google. I remember the industrial sections I used to go to. Okay, go into Google Maps,
right.
pick a name, pick an area, and build around that. Get a list. Different things and different tactics I'm working out, and it's taking my creativity for now. Sometimes at the end of the day, I look at something on Medium and I blow a fuse, and I but, anyways, that's my life now.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, marketing is always important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, keep me busy for the next few decades. So I hope, anyways.
Right. Well, thanks for being on the
A
Medium 2
pleasure.
thing again.
And,
And hopefully nobody will watch this. Only for all the crap I said. I hear the stuff coming out of my mouth. I'm like,
yeah, you can't make it if you double down, Max. Just double down on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I still have your list of questions. So if you want to do it again, I still have I didn't even ask you the questions. So the questions are still there.
Yeah, okay. I didn't pay any attention. I'm very bad at lists. I'm very bad at listening.
But I never asked the questions because we just got into it as usual.
Yeah, yeah, figure something. What do you want to talk about? Well, forget that. What's next?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway. All right.
All right. Well, have a great day.
Have a good week and talk to you sometime soon, okay?
Yes, hope so.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Bill. Bye.